It's the proverbial D-Day in the National Assembly. Federal lawmakers are expected to act on the concerns raised by President Buhari in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Specifically, the president wants lawmakers to re-amend the clause which makes direct primaries compulsory for nominating candidates by political parties. The Senate rescinds its earlier decision on compulsory direct primaries, choosing instead to adopt direct, indirect and consensus as procedures for nominating candidates.
The Senate, in the Committee of the Whole, considered the Electoral Act No. 6, 2010 Repeal and Enactment Bill 2022 and approved as follows. Clause 84 as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you.
It also approved that a political party that adopts direct primaries shall ensure that all aspirants are given equal opportunity of being voted for by members of the party. In the case of presidential primaries, all registered members of the party are to vote for aspirants of their choice at a designated centre at each ward of the federation. For indirect primaries, it approved that in the case of nomination to the position of presidential candidate, a political party shall hold a special presidential convention at a designated centre in the FCT or any other place within the federation agreed to by the National Executive Committee of the party. In the House of Representatives, lawmakers immediately go into a closed-door session on resumption. 30 minutes later, the chamber doors are thrown open. Legislators confer in different groups. We would later learn that lawmakers had just got wind of a Senate's decision to include the option of consensus as a procedure for nominating candidates.
A letter was written by Mr. President.
The House also follows the path of the Senate by rescinding its earlier decision on compulsory direct primaries. However, it does not adopt consensus procedure for nominating candidates.
It is my considered position that the political parties should be allowed to freely exercise the right of choice in deciding which of direct or indirect primaries to adopt in the conduct of their primary elections. So basically, our rules have tied our hands. We can't even go outside that clause to inject any other thing, even if we so desire.
Outside the chamber, lawmakers explained their decision not to override the president and why the consensus method was not considered by legislators in the House of Representatives.
Let us not be having problems with our parties, with the government and everybody. Let us put even the indirect primaries and the direct primaries and then also the consensus. So whatever happens at the end of the day, the party will not blame the National Assembly for making a law that is difficult for them.
A lot of our members who have consulted, their constituents came back and said, well, there was a need to give the latitude, to the parties so that the people will have option.
Members didn't think that the consensus was as democratic as the intent of the amendments were scheduled.
How does a party determine its consensus candidate? These are some of the things you should look at. You cannot give a vague, so a political party, the chairman of the party can decide in a room who the consensus candidate can be.
The Senate and House of Representatives will now have to form a conference committee to harmonize their positions on consensus candidates for party primaries. However, this may delay the speedy conclusion of the process. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.